Welcome to Bleav In 76ers with your hosts, former 76ers point guard Eric Snow and two Sixers fanatics in Marcus and Teja Dash. Bleav In 76ers is presented by BetOnline.AG.
BetOnline remains your number one source for all your college basketball betting this season. Get analysis of every play, prop, and point at BetOnline. You'll find the latest odds, bracket contests, team matchups, and game trends at BetOnline. Updated odds for everything from live games, the conference championships, right through the Final Four and championship game. BetOnline is your college basketball headquarters this season. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to sign up and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Be sure to use our promo code BLEAV, that's BLEAV, to receive your bonus. BetOnline.AG, where the game starts. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Bleav In 76ers podcast. I'm Marcus Dash here with our host, former legendary 76er point guard Eric Snow, and my brother Teja Dash. Guys, big win against Dallas the other night. Guys looked like pretty much we ended that game nicely, nice and strong, back to normal. What you guys think about that win on Wednesday?
About getting the wins. That's what it's about.
We'll take it.
Another come from behind one against Dallas.
It wasn't always cute, but, got it done.
It looked a lot like the first time in Dallas. The only thing is they just didn't go up by as much, so it was easier to come back and win.
Yeah. And we also saw some movement last night, Boston and Milwaukee. Boston laid the smackdown on Milwaukee. I think the final score is 148 to 109, I believe the final score was. Something ridiculous. They're up 30 at halftime. What did you guys think of that game? Do you think that bodes well for Boston, maybe catching Milwaukee?
No. Boston just lost by 20 to the Wizards the previous game, so no.
What are they down on them now? Like two and a half games?
Yeah, they won't catch them. In 5 games, they won't catch them.
2 games, the 2 games back.
Makes that Philadelphia-Milwaukee game that much bigger on us.
Yeah,
huh?
That's the funny thing. Both teams need to beat us, and they want us to beat the other team badly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they won't catch them 2 games. It was a back-to-back for Milwaukee. It wasn't for Boston. We'll see. Boston is known to lose to some opponents they shouldn't lose to. Yeah. I'm not believing that they can. I think we got a better chance of catching Boston than they do than them catching Milwaukee.
Well, hey, the Cleveland-Boston thing, we're tied. It's 2.5. We're 2.5 above Cleveland, and we're 2.5 behind Boston now again. So,
yeah. And it looks like the 6th spot right now, if things were to end, we play Brooklyn. And a lot of Sixers fans online are really hoping that 3-6 stays the same. Sixers Nets instead of playing Miami, because Miami's starting to get in the groove. And I think we all on the show would rather play Brooklyn over Miami.
Well, groove, they lost 3 in a row, but they do look better overall.
Yes. Miami would be more confident against us,
Yes. I agree.
Yeah. All right, we're going to get into the first topic here. We got obviously we talked about that Dallas game, big revenge game against Dallas after what they did to us, shooting like 33s, making them in that first matchup. But took a late comeback and all of our energy to pull away from them. But the big takeaway was the questionable health of our 2 stars, Joel Embiid and James Harden. And after the game, Harden said some stuff about his injury. He quote, trying to do the proper things to continue to maintain it, finish off these last 6 games and be ready to take that last week of preparation. I don't think it's just going to completely go away, but I'm out there. He also went on to say that he didn't know where it came from, but it's been bothering him for some months, to the point where the last game he played, it was unbearable and couldn't even go out there, which was kind of concerning to a lot of people online. Everyone just kind of took that part and was like, ugh, like this doesn't sound good at all. So my question to you guys is, on a scale of 1 to 100, how worried are you guys about James's injury and Joel's calf injury?
Well, as far as Joel first, early in the game, I think he went for a layup and he went to dunk, and you could see him grimacing a little bit. So that tells me that even though he played and he was productive, the injury's not still still there. James, I didn't see it as much as if he wouldn't have had these quotes, I wouldn't have necessarily felt the way I feel without him saying that. I didn't really get that vibe about his injury. But with him saying that, I mean, it's a major concern for me because it almost tells me that we could possibly see them missing games in the playoffs. Mm. And I don't want, I don't really want to say it. I don't want that to happen, but that's kind of like always going to be there. You thinking guys having, no back-to-backs, that wouldn't be the case. So especially in the early round, especially in the first round, we get to these playoffs, we get to the first round, it probably bodes well for us to probably end the series early.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
And take extreme leads too, so we can just rest those guys as much as possible throughout those games.
I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but that's where I went when he said that.
James, I've noticed a little something in James. He hasn't had the step he had earlier in the season. I mean, the last 3 games, man, he hasn't shot above 29% in the past 3 games.
But correct me if I'm wrong, though. You feel like he's not
45.
But you feel like he's not getting as many layups into the rim as he has before.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
That can help with your percentage a great deal.
Yeah, he's not blowing by people the way he was early in the season. I definitely noticed it's okay. So let's do that out of 100 first. So out of 100, I'll give Joel 50 out of 100. I'm scared because 50 just because I've been scarred by Joel injuries in the past. But Joel in general, he's gotten used to over his career playing with injuries. I feel like Joel has mastered playing with injuries, where it's from a broken face to a torn ligament in his hand to a torn meniscus. He's played in the playoffs on all of those. I think all of those at the same time, almost 2 of those. I think he's used to it, and Joel is in the prime of his career to the point where 80% of Joel is still better than most players. So him on an injury, he can handle it. James at this point of his career, 80% of James is not better than most players at this point. And he's not blowing by people at 80%. In fact, the past couple games have reminded me of the Miami series, James. Not being able to get by people. He's kind of dribbling. And when he can't get by, he over dribbles, which takes us out of our offensive set. So it's not just him that's affected by it. It affects everybody. I'm a lot more worried about Harden's. I'd say if Joel's 50, I'd say like 80, 85 for Harden. I'm really worried about him. And he said he wants to play the rest of the season. From what he alluded to, he's like he wants to play the last 6 games and then take that next week to rest. So he's going to play on this. And this is not an injury that's going to go away. It sounds like it's from overusage. And he's going to play another 6 games. And then is that week going to be enough to rest? I don't know. Hopefully. But yeah, I'm a lot more worried about him. I don't want Miami series James to be our James in the playoffs this year. And it sounds like that's what we might be getting again. And that's terrible after the year we've had.
Yeah. I will say, as far as James' injury, beginning of that game, it did seem like he was kind of, like what you said, look a little bit like Miami Heat series. But second half of that game, I mean, I saw him. I mean, I saw a little bit more of explosion, and they at the second half of that game. So I mean, that was good to see. But then also hearing him say at the end of the game, like Eric said, but Eric, do you think that could be more of like giving us more of a competitive edge as we get to the playoffs, like? A team like Milwaukee hears that.
I think he can still be productive. I didn't take it as him saying I can't do this. It was just taking him. It was me. I took it more of, hey, I may have to sit down again to calm it down. It may be a thing that I have to sit to calm it. It's not going anywhere. It's going to be here. more so than it's limiting me. It's just something that's not going to leave me without time away.
Yeah. It's by far his worst 3-game stretch of the season, by the way.
Yeah.
15, 5, and 11 points. 9 turnovers in that stretch.
But he sat for a week going into these 3 games, correct? I mean, right? It was about a week.
Yeah, but it's because of this injury, right?
Yeah.
So the games before you sit out, you're probably most affected by the injury. And the game when you come back from an injury, you're still battling it because it's not gone.
But he said he's been battling for some months, though. So I mean, he has had this.
But it's come to a head. If you're missing games finally consistently for it, and you're questionable the next game, it's coming. It's getting worse. So it's doing that, right? I mean, you can just see his stats show you everything. I'm 0-6 from 3, 0-6 from 3. Because when James is a step slower because he's injured, no one gives him that space anymore. It's like, you're not blowing by me, so I'm not going to give you your step back 3. And he's 0-6 and 0-6 in 2 straight games because he doesn't have that space to shoot threes. They're not giving it to him because they don't think he can get by him. He was getting that space when he was showing a burst. But if he doesn't show a burst, then no room for James. I mean, it's brutal. It's brutal. I mean, he's had a really, really rough stretch. In his last 3 games, he's 2 of 18 from 3, dude. That is bad.
That's rough.
His free throws are down too because they're just playing him straight up and getting in his face for his threes, and he's not getting to the lane, he's not creating contact.
Yeah, they aren't calling as many fouls on him as in years past in general this year, though. It's been a down year as far as free throw attempts.
That's going downhill getting to the attacking the basket. He hasn't done that as much, so he's not going to get to the line as much. But some of that is James not doing it, and maybe that's because of injury. But some of it is also he doesn't need to do it as much because Maxey doesn't a lot.
Yeah.
So some of it, I think, is his role kind of being defined a little more to more of a distributor, facilitator, and Maxey being a little more downhill. I see that's happening a little because you look at the team. I mean, you always got Joel who's going to draw the attention, and the other guys outside of those 3 are still getting wide open looks. So
it's his lowest free throws per game since 2011.
Was that OKC?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Erica, I know as far as in the NFL, because the guys in my other podcast always talk about Toradol shots. Is that a thing in the NBA too? Getting Toradol shots, like to numb the pain before going out, if you do have like an injury, like the Achilles.
Yeah, I don't know if guys really do that in the NBA as much because it's so many more games, and the NFL is just that one game, and then you got a whole week before you play another game, or 4 or 5 days before you play another game. I think in the league, guys are more like, well, I'm gonna just rest it or procedure more so than shot because there's so many games. And now you get into the playoffs, then I think if guy may do something that he feels like he needs to do it to play. Now I think you get later in the series and it's do or die and you have to win. I mean, you may get more people doing it then, but it wasn't a thing when I played with guys doing that.
You also worried about it being the Achilles soreness too? Because I mean, Achilles soreness.
When I had my ankle, when I broke my ankle in that 2001 season, the first time, before I re-broke it in the playoffs, what hurt me the worst was they called it Achilles tendonitis.
Mm-hmm.
That pain was incredible from what I had. And it wasn't even from the fracture. It was that I had developed that. And that felt like crazy. And I got shot up one time and I said, I'll never do it again. Oof. It made me feel worse.
Wow, really?
I said I'll never again. And I didn't do it.
Made you feel worse when it wore off and the pain came back, you mean?
It never really felt better even when I did it. Like I did it, I got through the game, but it never felt any better than it was feeling. And then it was worse when the game was over. Like, it wasn't like they did it and like the pain was free and then it came back and was worse. No, the pain was still there, but then it was worse afterwards.
Damn. Well, hopefully,
I think I did that the Toronto series.
Damn.
I was hurting. It was really bad on my injuries, and that's why I started. If you really watched that whole time, that's why I started coming off the bench, because they wanted to limit my minutes and have me play more minutes in the fourth quarter. My minutes were cut by a few minutes, but they wanted me to basically play the whole fourth quarter. So if you see me play less early in the game and more in fourth quarters, that was why.
Who was your main assignment? Was Chris Childs on that Toronto team?
Well, my main assignment would have been Vince.
Yeah.
But I didn't guard Vince as much because of the injuries.
Yeah.
But usually
we didn't have George back yet either, right?
I can't remember if George went out that series or not.
I think he was still trying to rehab to get back.
I don't remember. I know he was in the Indiana series, but I don't know if he went out in Indiana series or the Toronto series. I don't remember. But I mean, we had Aaron, but Alvin Williams was the starting point guard for
That's right.
Toronto, and that's who Allen was guarding primarily. So, but Aaron was starting on Vince.
But throughout that series, though, we went 7 games. Were you like, oh man, here we go? Like the series is gonna last a long time. You were obviously hoping that it was gonna go quick, so you have time to rest it, right?
I mean, well, it was that series. Like the first series, we lost the first game. So you got a series once they've already taken home court.
Yeah.
So no matter what, in order to win this series, we have to win on their court.
Yeah.
Well, it was the tale of two teams, right? Because Lakers swept everybody, and we that year played every game but one possible game before getting into the finals, which was insane, especially for like a battered team like we were. It was like, man, like we couldn't get any rest.
Lakers wouldn't have beat us like that if we were all healthy.
Yeah.
They know that. They'll never say it, but they know.
Mm-hmm. All right, so going back to the game on Wednesday, Jeff Van Gundy, our biggest fan. I think the Van Gundys love the Sixers so much. Just hearing them talk about us, it's a breath of fresh air. Is hearing them talk about the Sixers. It's awful. I was debating on putting that game on mute at some point. So Jeff
Stan's worse than Jeff.
I don't know, man. The way Jeff was speaking about is that throughout that entire game was just like, I think he might have overtaken one of Stan's worst games as far as calling our games. That was pretty rough. And that's unlike Jeff to be on our ass like that. But oh well. But he did have an interesting nugget during that game. He talked about a stat saying the teams that have shot 50% or higher have lost about 23% of their games this season. Something close to that. It was in the 20s. So Teja ran some numbers for me, did a deep dive into the Sixers games. So in games we've shot 50% or higher, we are 28-4. Out of those 32 games, we allowed the other team to shoot 50% or more 18 times. And in games where we've allowed 50% and shot under 50%, we are 4-6. So my question to you guys is kind of a general comment. Why are teams losing so many games while shooting 50% or more? Does it just speak to how bad defenses are right now in the NBA? Or for us, does it mean we just need to shoot 50%, then we win?
Well, I mean, I think that leaves out a lot. And when I say I think it leaves out a lot, because it just gives you the percentages. It doesn't give you teams getting offensive rebounds and having way more attempts. It doesn't give you teams just having high amount of turnovers and having fewer attempts. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't give you how often someone gets to the free throw line and able to convert them. So those are just different ways that teams can shoot well and still lose. Giving up offensive rebounds, turning the ball over, putting teams on the line. So I think that those three things, if you really look at it, you'll probably see that teams are really affected in one or two or three of those areas when they lose those games. And also, you're shooting the percentage, they could be giving up a lot of 3-point shots too.
Yep.
In that percentage. So I would like to see all of those numbers and see if the percentages or the win percentages, how they shake out. But I do Bleav that, it's easy to say those numbers without the context of the different things that can happen in the game.
Yeah, that's fair. Teja, were you shocked by those numbers when Van Gundy? Because that was one of the things you texted me about when Van Gundy had mentioned that on the telecast. Like, well,
I thought that was pretty interesting because I didn't really pick up on that during the season. I mean, I know we've had some crazy, crazy high-scoring games. So when he said it, I was like, man, we've had some games where it's been like 150 to 148 or something. Like, we've had some really high-scoring games. That's why I kind of just did that. I started diving into comparing it to previous seasons because I'm like, how does it compare to history of the NBA? So field goal percentage is up from last season, almost 1.5 percentage points. It's the highest field goal percentage since 1990.
Huh.
So field goal percentage is up in general. It's at 47.5 overall across the board. The most free throws made per game since 2010. And it's the highest I just saw this. It's the highest free throw percentage ever.
Really? That's kind of surprising, actually.
Ever. 78.2%. It is surprising. I thought it'd be like, and yeah, that's pretty crazy. It's the highest ever. Actually, the highest 3 percentages are this year, last year, and the year before.
Oh wow! So it just keeps going up every year.
Yeah. And then it kind of gets a little random after that. But yeah, the highest percentage of all time. I'm not sure what it is, honestly. Does it speak to the defense? Does it speak to the amount of fouls that are being called and they're hitting free throws? If it is the most free throws in 13 years and the most highest 3% percentage of all time.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, you got to take it's the other context that isn't mentioned, that I think that some of those numbers will come down. Those win percentages or loss percentages will come down, go up or down based on adding, some other statistics offensively that I know impact those numbers. Turnovers and offensive rebounds and getting to the line will impact those numbers. I've seen teams shoot well from the field and lose because of those three.
Mm-hmm.
You shooting the 50%, but the other team shoots 12 to 15 more shots than you.
Yep.
It gets to the line, 15 or 10 to 15 times more. Look how many more points that is. That's how you lose the game.
Yeah. Yeah, which is something I thought they were trying to work on that with an emphasis on offensive players foul baiting and putting themselves in awkward positions in order to get offensive fouls. I thought they were trying to combat that.
I mean, they have, but I don't think it's been as much baiting as I think it's just guys are just good at creating fouls. I mean, people have been complaining about Joel going to the line all year. Every time I listen to another broadcast, I watch games and I try to listen to the other team's broadcasts just to kind of hear what they got to say. And they're just like complaining about him getting fouled every game.
Yeah.
So
it's also the highest offensive rating all time as well.
And the defensive rating can't be the highest either.
Yeah, it's probably a combination of both, right? It's that offenses can't miss; they're getting fouled a lot, and defenses are playing poorly. It's like a perfect storm, man. And it's like 2.5 points higher. Like the other ones are all kind of bunched up together, right? But like it's 2.5 points higher than any other season before. It's pretty crazy. Again, last 3 seasons have been the highest, which is really weird. It's like what's going on in the last 3 years? You've had a record amount of guys. It's funny too because. When did they make the whole emphasis? It was 2 years ago, right? The whole point of emphasis on like foul baiting. That was like 2 years ago, right? It was after the Hawks series.
No, I think it was this past offseason. I think it was
This past offseason.
Yeah.
Okay, so they saw it and they were like, okay, what's going on here? Like, it's been an offensive explosion, the most free throws the last 3 years. We got to do something. I mean, whatever they did didn't.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really think the league really minds a lot of scoring. They just mind a lot of stopping and long lasting games.
Mm-hmm.
Is what they don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that Sacramento and Clippers game is the way the league wants to go. What do you
5 overtime. Play to the next morning.
I mean, just it's they want a game that's gonna move and get people to keep people's attention. Yes,
but
it's
see,
different in the playoffs.
Letting them play that whole thing. If you let them play, that's letting the defense get physical with you, right?
Not necessarily let them play. It's and we talked about this before when I was saying that I felt the league has a talent referee issue.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think that comes into play because there's some things you can do as a referee to keep the game flowing by talking guys through situations or telling them, hey, if you don't A, B, or C, I'm gonna have to make that call.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's ways to kind of keep the game flowing. I'm not sure, like I said, I'm not in the game anymore. I just know that a lot of the veteran referees that were in there for 15, 20 years when I was doing it, they're all gone.
Yeah.
So,
and just to say simple math, but when we shoot under 50%, we're 22-22.
Yeah, interesting.
So if we shoot under in the playoffs, if we're shooting under 50%, it's a toss up if we win or not.
Yeah.
And if we
I
go
mean,
over
but
50%,
you gotta, if you take care of the ball and you rebound,
yeah,
you can get some stops. Like you still give yourself a chance to win.
And hit your threes.
Yeah, I mean the field goal percentage, but if you win the turnover and rebound game, you still have a chance.
Yeah.
This makes a lot of sense as to why we've given up such massive leads too, because we let teams shoot 58, 60% against us for 3 quarters, and then we just turn it on, and then we score. We don't stop them, but we just score at a faster rate the rest of the game. But yeah, it's pretty crazy the amount of games. I mean, that we've scored 50 and the other team scored 50. Just bad defense, good offense all the way around. But there you go. If you're watching a game and you see the percentages we're shooting 50% or higher, then we have a really, really good shot of winning that game. So,
yeah, on the referee, on the official stuff, one of my buddies, Eric, he's a referee in the DMV, so he refs high school games, DC, Maryland, Virginia. He loved the segment on the referees officials. He said Eric knows his stuff, man. Which I was like, of course he does.
That's cool.
But he said that Scott Foster, because Scott Foster was he's a DMV guy, and he said Scott Foster had a reputation. He's talked a lot of the old head guys here. He said Foster had a reputation of being arrogant when he was coming up in DC. So
that's what I said. I told you. Very good referee. Very good. I thought he was very good, but he is. I found him to come off as arrogant, and you can't talk to him.
Yeah.
Just
yeah. He said he's
out
known
of all the referees that I had in my career, I felt he was the hardest to talk to. That's saying a lot.
Yeah.
Steve Javie was easier than him. Joey Crawford, Bennett, all them old heads, all them older guys that we knew didn't take no mess. I could talk to them more than I could talk to Scott Foster.
That's funny.
Scott Foster to me always looked like a cop who pulled you over for some stupid reason, and you could not reason with him. You could not. You'd be like, dude, but I was not doing that. They're just like, nah, here, man. Here's your license, and you're like, all right, fine, just give me a ticket. He's one of those, man.
Scott not giving you no break. You getting the ticket.
You not getting a break. No warning. Doesn't matter if you're going to the hospital for your pregnant wife.
Yeah, you getting the ticket.
Doesn't matter if you're late for work and you're getting fired. You are getting the ticket.
Yeah.
They're going to make you wait for it, too.
Better call your work. Tell them you're going to be late.
Yeah, you better tell them you're going to be late.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, because he said with all the older guys there, he said that coming up, he was really arrogant, but he was regarded as a basketball genius in the area.
Oh, look, I said he's a good referee. Yeah, he is. And I thought he was fair. Like, I didn't think he was a bias or anything. I thought he was fair, a really good referee. I just thought you just couldn't talk to him. Like, he's just arrogant. Like, my call is the right call. No. Like, you just – any other referee would kind of explain or talk. I'm like, this – yeah.
Yeah, so I guess
he's the only one I couldn't even have a conversation with. I'm saying, when I say I couldn't have a conversation with him, I'm not talking about before the game when you talk to him like I could not talk to him. I'm saying strictly during the game.
Yeah.
Not as a person, like, away from the game. I'm saying during the game.
Was he one of those, like,
well, make that clear, like, during the game you can't talk to him.
Like, if you ask for an explanation, like, why is that a foul? He just wouldn't listen to answer.
Just any kind of, yeah. So I would be like, well, Scott, I'm a captain. I can ask you a question. Well, I'm not trying to hear you right now, Eric. Like that, like responses like that. Like, dude, like, I can ask you a question. Well, not right now. It's like you just act, and like, dude, just calm down. Like I'm not trying to argue with you. Like that would be an interaction with him. So to give you an example of Joy Crawford, Joy, baby, Eric, not right now. Give me a little bit. We can have a conversation. Or, okay, well, no, calm down. Don't give me all your hands. Just come over here and say what you have to say. You see what I'm like? That's the difference. Mm. Steve Javy. Yes, Eric. Mm-hmm. What'd you say? Okay, gotcha. And then walk away. Like, you know what I'm saying? But
yeah,
that was like more confrontational. Or it's like, it's your fault and you shouldn't be talking to me. Like, that's how he came off in games.
Really? Like not getting eye contact, like when you're trying to talk
that way. He was like, wait, what was that? What was that? What was that?
Yeah, it was like I always felt like he was the only referee I felt like if I say anything, he wanted to give me a technical.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't a guy that was known to go get technicals like that. So there's a reason why. Like, if I'm not a guy that's getting technicals every game, it's a reason why I'm not getting them.
Right.
Because I know how to talk to you guys. And I'm respectful. So for me not to be able to talk to you and feel like I'm captive, like, this dude's a blank head. Like,
he wanted to give you that speeding ticket, dude. That was it.
He basically wanted to give me the ticket, and he wasn't trying to hear any talking.
No, he wanted to hit that quota.
Yeah, he was giving that ticket up.
All right,
what we got, man? Who gonna win?
So we got Toronto Friday night tonight. We are currently a 5.5-point favorite. Still waiting to see if our guys are going to play. But, I mean, based on what Harden said, it seems like he's going to finish out the season and just take that last week of the play-in games to rest. But as of, let's say both guys play, 5.5-point favorite, who do you guys have at Philadelphia tonight?
We'll win, but it's Toronto, and we will not cover.
All right.
Does Toronto – they've had guys out in and out of the lineup recently. I know Trent's missed some time.
Oh, now you want to say that. Like, you always want me to give, and then you talking about who's in and out the lineup. Like, tell me who's going to be in the lineup before.
You didn't ask. You should have let me go first.
He said, like, if we're giving it, we're supposed to be giving them to know who's playing. Like, you're supposed to tell me who's playing. You told me Harden may not play.
I was asking. I don't know. I don't see anyone listed, but they have had guys in and out of the lineup. Like, I know Barnes missed games. I know Trent's missed games recently. Scotty's missed some games recently. So
my thing with Toronto is they are playing for 7th seed in home court for that playing game.
Yeah, they're playing for their lives out there. But so is Dallas, too.
I'm looking at the injury report. So this isn't the official one, but this is interesting. So Tobias is doubtful tonight. Gary Trent doubtful. And Will Barton doubtful. So
okay. Any changes there? Any amendments?
Yeah, it says just doubtful. I'm looking.
That's crazy. Must be serious if Tobias is missing a game.
Yeah, I stand by it, but yeah, we won't cover.
Tobias ain't moving the needle at all, huh?
Okay, so Harris is questionable for Friday night's game against the Raptors due to a non-COVID illness. So that's what that is.
Yeah, I mean, Tobias is also a guy that can be doubtful, and I feel like he can still play.
Yeah, he's a gamer.
That's true too. Yeah, he's very reliable. Give him that.
So that's why, like, if it was Joel and they say doubtful, I'd be like, no, he's not playing.
I think we win. I think it's just like, was it 5.5? It's like right on the mark. Right? We win by like 6.
Yeah, and Gary Trent is out based on ESPN. It said Trent is questionable for Friday's game against. It says questionable, then also says out. But yeah, questionable with the elbow injury. So
yeah, he missed last game too, I Bleav. I say we win by 6. It's gonna be right on that spread.
So you're taking Sixers minus 5.5, huh? You're gonna buy points, make it minus 2.5.
Am I leaning that? I'm leaning Sixers minus 5.5.
You're buying Sixers minus 2.5.
I could do that. I could see that as a possibility.
What are y'all talking about?
You can alt line, so you can buy points. So the 5.5 spread, you can buy points and make it a 2.5 point spread instead of a 5.5 point. Instead of just going straight up money line. If you think you're going to win by 2.5 points, you can.
I don't like trusting spreads, Eric. So a lot of times I'll buy even like a point or two just to give myself a little peace of mind.
Yeah.
Because I don't trust the Vegas spread a lot of times.
Yeah.
So he asked me. Yeah, I do. Well, I trust mine more than theirs. That's for damn sure.
But yours is based off theirs.
It is, yeah. So it's like take line 5. It's like buffering it a little bit. You know what I mean? It's just buying a little insurance. That's all.
And you got to pay for that.
Yeah,
you do have to. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so then last topic, last prediction here. Sunday night at 8:00, Philadelphia will travel to Milwaukee for a rematch of that Saturday night game from a couple weeks ago that a lot say was one of the games of the year. Well, at least Sixers fans will say that. But my question is, do you think both guys are going to play in this one, Joel and Harden? And who do you guys have? If everyone is healthy and active for this game, who do you guys have in this one?
Milwaukee.
It'd be so fitting if Giannis missed this because what did I read? Embiid missed the game against Jokic. And then I think Jokic missed the game against Milwaukee when they played. Is that right?
He did. He didn't play in Milwaukee. No one ever talks about that, but he didn't play in Milwaukee.
This would be very fitting if Giannis missed this game. So they all missed one, but I don't think he will. Giannis,
I don't think he'll miss, especially at home. And they're at home right now. He won't miss.
Mm-hmm. Do they play?
That's their next game, right?
Yeah, they don't play from Thursday to Sunday. So
that's their next game after getting beat by 50. Yeah. Great.
He's definitely they all gonna play.
Oh, dude, they're playing with
Milton's gonna play. They're
playing with like adrenaline shot in their arms, man. Are you kidding me? Oh man, I say they win. Yeah. They have double revenge. They have revenge getting their ass beat by Boston, and they have revenge about us beating them last time we played them at Milwaukee, right? Yeah, it was at Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. Good. I'm surprised that game's not a nationally televised game. 8:00. I mean, the two of the best teams in the league. That's like, airing. That's kind of
NCAA weekend.
Yeah. It's Sunday though. There's a breaking coverage.
The girls, they're lifting up the girls' games, so they don't want to, which is good. They don't want to kind of overdo them and put them on national TV. Just make it all about the girls and then the women and the guys.
Smart anyway. From what I've seen, the last couple of girls games have dominated the NBA games in ratings. So
I mean they should. It's if they're on national TV and they're the only game on and it's a playoffs, it's like if the Sixers in Milwaukee were playing and nobody else was on, that game's going to do very well too.
Yeah. I'll watch you if you're the only game on, is what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I know I'm just saying it's like they're playing on national TV and it's like no one else is on. Let's watch it. We want people to watch. Yeah. Like that's why they do it like that.
Yeah.
So more people can watch their game. So why have the NBA game compete against that? But I watch it all the time. Like I watch all their games. I've always done it. So I'm not one of these people that just jump on when someone scores a 40-point triple-double. Like I've always watched them play and always been there. So
well, since we're on that topic, do you think Iowa's got a shot in hell against South Carolina this weekend?
I told my son he wanted to bet me for dinner. my oldest son, EJ, and he's like, or Javon, whatever he goes by. He was like, the spread is like 11.5.
Yeah.
And he was like, oh, I was definitely going to cover that. And I'm like, okay. I said, well, Caitlin Clark will have to play the same way she played that last game for the game to be within 8 to 12 points.
Yeah.
If she doesn't play like that, it won't even be close. And it won't be close early.
After her playing that way, for that to be an 11.5 point spread's actually pretty scary. I would take 11.5, man.
Yeah.
Minus 11.5.
No, I'm saying for her, she played like that, right?
Yeah.
And the spread is 11.5.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Crazy.
Well, they definitely want you to bank on her and Iowa again.
I mean, because I looked at, they were talking about, well, Iowa's offenses, they score so much. They average 87 points a game, but South Carolina averages 80.
Yeah.
So I just know that it's just the rebounding, man. It's the rebounding. Because Iowa has sort of the box out, let Caitlin Clark kind of get some rebounds and everybody push and run and spot up. South Carolina will get every rebound if they do that. Every miss, they'll get it. So I just don't know how you can. I was 6'3", 6'1". They said 6 foot, 5'9". South Carolina 3s and 4 and 5 is 6'7", 6'5", 6'5", 6'4", 6'2".
Man.
6'3".
Get about it.
Yeah.
And that's just their bigs. We didn't talk about, their best scorers, a guard.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you're just talking into taking South Carolina minus 11.5.
I actually threw them into one of my bets this weekend.
Oh, yeah. Did you? Buy points at all?
I don't get it to the points. I was just like, I told my son, I'm like, if she doesn't perform like she did the last game, because that sets up their whole offense, like her shooting, passing, like that's sets everything up because everybody else just spots up in the big, who they said only took one dribble in the playoffs. I don't know how she gonna do that now.
Yeah.
And she's 6'3". Like that's gonna be interesting. I just don't. Maybe it's just me, but it's exciting. They building up the hype. But I believe Virginia Tech and LSU are both better than Iowa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
From what I've seen. And I've watched them throughout the season. I'm not just this guy that just comes along during the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I watch Iowa. I watch them a lot because Iowa didn't win. They didn't even win the Big Ten.
Yeah. With that, the Final Four, I'm just going to ask you quickly on that. The FAU to San Diego State, Saturday.
San Diego State.
San Diego State, okay. UConn and Miami.
Miami.
I'm with you on that one. I got Miami.
My enemy. My little boy used to call it, when he was young, he used to call it my enemy.
Teja, FAU.
If he's a Sixer fan, that's still true. What?
Yeah, he's right. Yeah. No, who do you have in those games?
What's the spread in the San Diego State game?
Minus 2.5. San Diego State's a favorite by minus 2.5. 2.5 points.
That one's so tough, man. I'm going to go San Diego State. I'm going to go San Diego State, Miami. Same thing.
Really? Interesting. I'm surprised both of you guys are going Miami. Huh. Everyone in the country is going UConn, so it's like, yeah, that's the favorite. Everyone says that.
Wouldn't surprise me if UConn win. I mean, I just feel Miami gonna beat it.
5.5 point favorite UConn is over Miami. 5.5 points. So, all right, guys. Well, That'll do it for us. We'll see you guys on Tuesday where we preview another blockbuster matchup, Sixers and Celtics on Tuesday night. So we'll see you guys Tuesday. We hope everyone has a good weekend, and we hope Sixers go 2-0 this weekend.
Yep. Later, guys.
All right, see you, fellas.